Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Historical Humans Reacts. And on today's episode, we are continuing the narrative that I have been trying to spread for a very long time that humans have not changed. We are the exact same as we were hundreds of thousands of years ago, and here is yet another example where we have one of the oldest known human portraits in the world that was carved from ivory and dates to about 26,000 years ago.
Yeah. Don't listen to this man's propaganda. The minutia that distinguishes individual cultures is the most important part of the human experience.
Yes, but the humans, no matter what culture, no matter what part of Earth, they do the same like five things. We learn to grow food, we draw pictures on the wall, and we just like carve things. We carve faces, we carve animals, we carve certain
Yeah.
human related things onto walls. Like it has not changed. It doesn't matter if it's Romans, it doesn't matter if it's modern day. Oh,
Yep.
that's my rant.
Yep, you're right. So, yep. So, anyway, this particular instance involves carving the human likeness onto the ivory bones of an animal that we killed. In this case, the woolly mammoth, because that's how long ago this was that we were still dealing with mammoths.
Okay, but that is also kind of a subtle flex, both for the craftsman and for the person whose face this is, because that is a pretty important kill, pretty invaluable material, pretty high end thing. And one of the things that makes this unique is the fact that it has specific facial features, and that's what makes them believe that it's a.
Yeah, it's the earliest known depiction of a specific individual. A lot of a lot of artwork from prehistoric times and even throughout much of early human civilizations, like the Cycladic figurines, depict generic outlines of what a human face or a human body would be without specific individual forms. This, however, shows a clear attempt to try and depict an individual from the sort of curve of the brow to the inlay of the eyes to the shape of the nose and the twist of the mouth. They're having that little kind of wry smile. Like this is clearly an attempt at depicting an individual face.
It's very fascinating because one of the things that we genuinely do see with the development of culture and of eventually civilization is the presence of these carved figures. I mean, they mentioned the Venus of Vestinice. I don't know how to pronounce that. I
Yeah.
apologize. I believe it's what, Romanian
Yeah, I believe
or
it's I
Czech.
believe it's Czech. Yeah,
Sorry,
this
I
and
have
the
yet to
Venus
brush up on my
are
Czech.
Czech.
But
Yeah.
there was a previous model that they decried as being a Venus of the town. And these figures, these female figures, usually are either interpreted one of, I'd say, like three specific ways. The first of which is probably the most universal and generic, that it was a fertility totem to help with, the bringing of new life, to make sure that women are fertile and that reproduction happens. The other is as like a deification or a carving of a deity, and that's where this ties into having the name Venus, which is the Roman god of.
Yeah, it's the Roman god of love.
I'm glad you knew, and I'm glad I could
It's
rely
the
on you because
Roman
I
god of.
could.
You were that worried for me, or did you actually forget which god this was?
I genuinely forget just because my strength in the Roman pantheon isn't as strong as Greek, so I always default to Greek first. And when I have to work backwards, that's when I
Yeah.
struggle.
Now, one of the things that's really interesting about this particular artwork is that they also found a burial that had a lot of decorations, drilled fox teeth, and a number of other bone decor on it. And it's a burial of a woman who appears to have suffered some sort of skull trauma early in life, resulting in a sort of bending of their brow. Now, their hair would probably have never looked right. But it's the same sort of bending when archaeologists did, facial reconstruction, as we see on this on this artifact on the on the Dolny portrait head,
There's like
which, yeah, it's just one of those things that further leads into that this looks like a physical depiction of this physical person.
So there's like three things I want to highlight here. One, the woman's remains were excavated in 1949. So 70 odd years ago at this point, 75 years ago. And I think my math is pretty close there, right?
Yeah,
Would
1949
it be?
would
Yeah.
have would have put us at
Oh, we're almost 80
76
now.
technically.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
anyways, it was 75 years ago, and now we're starting to see this come back to light, and that highlights something within archaeology that's a very common thing, but many people don't realize is a lot of the things that are synthesized, a lot of the data that is published, a lot of times tends to be historic collections. They tend to have been work that was done in the past because there was this dig first mentality in the field that immediately said we need to remove everything we can from this site and get it out, and then they threw it in boxes and didn't get a chance to analyze and to view it. So the fact that the archaeologists in 2018 were able to reconstruct that face from the
Yeah.
burial that was excavated
Yeah,
decades
yeah.
prior, it's a
And
cool
and
continuity of research.
and in fairness to the Indiana Jones era of archaeology that some of these things came from, I don't think they had very good 3D modeling computers in 1949.
Well, and that's where a lot of the more modern mentality comes in, where even when we're excavating a site, we're only doing a portion because we have hopes that in future generations there would be better techniques and technology that will capture data that we aren't even aware is present. So that's the second part. And then the third thing that I think is really interesting is we really very much do tend to do portraits of other people. There tends to be muses. You tend to design things after people that may find beautiful or may find unique, or something that triggers that creative balance. And here, if this is actually accurate and the time frames match up, that it is the same age, the same period. And Colum, I'm surprised you glossed over the fact that this is called the Stone Age Pompeii.
Yeah, yeah. I was dancing around that for a middle, but yeah, yeah. In the Czech Republic, there is this little site is considered the Stone Age Pompeii because of so much things that are there from, I believe it's the Gravetti culture, which is a group of people that are among the first human beings on Earth to build kilns to make pottery and make a number of other very much artistic based advancements for human creativity, including what this is here, which is the first actual attempt to depict another human being.
And this, for
Because
those,
it is a cultural choice on whether you depict an idealized generic human form or try to make it look like your neighbor. And this is probably the oldest surviving instance of trying to make it look like your neighbor.
and for those playing at home, this site dates roughly back to about 32 to 26,000 years ago, 29,000 to 24,000 BC.
Yeah.
So a very, very long time ago, where this is 30,000 years ago. That is an incredible amount of time.
Yeah, no, there is yeah, this is extremely ancient, and the odds of finding another bone or other material portrait from this time period or earlier are astronomically slim. We probably shouldn't even have the one that we do.
Yeah, but that's probably a good point for us to wrap up on this episode here. It's a very interesting topic and something that doesn't come up all that often, but one of the earliest portraits ever made. Let us know what your thoughts are down below, and we'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.